everyone and welcome back to the channel that knows nothing. I'm Jem and let's get to it. So today I'm going through a bunch of books that I got at this second-hand place. I'm pretty happy with the collection of books that I have hauled this time. The first book that I picked up is called Moonshadow. I looked at it before I turned on the camera. I'm like, yeah, Moonshadow, Eye of the Beast by Simon Higgins. And then as soon as I turned the camera on to record, I forgot it. But this was a book that I wanted to read when I was younger, and it had just, you know, like come out. And then I was just like, yes, Mum, I want to read this book. And then she like flipped through the pages and was just like, look, Beck, I don't think you can read this because and I look at it now and I'm like, Mum, really? Really? You didn't think I could read this? I'm so disheartened. I think I was maybe 10 or something, and it just, like, at my 10-year-old reading level, it just wasn't good, so I understand why, but I was so disheartened by it. And also, like, I was obsessed with, like, the cover. And also there is a second one to this, but I do not know the name of it. The next book books that I picked up were solely based on like my childhood, and that was Tashi. So I got Tashi and the Genie and Tashi and the Phoenix, and this is written by, oh my god, several people. Anna, Barbara and Kim. I'm not going to attempt to say the last names, but I get points for trying, don't I? Anyway, but this was a book that I read when I was quite, books, series that I read when I was quite young. You can look inside, quite short stories, but they were fabulous, and also they had illustrations, and as you guys probably know, I am a sucker for illustrations in books, so. The next book that I got was a series of unfortunate events, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket. And I always try to get like a series of books at this event. Like last time I was collecting the Twilight series because I want to eventually read that, because I feel like I just skipped that phase when I was younger and I want to go back to it. This is the third one. I tried to look for the second one but could not find it. I have the first one in my room somewhere, and I will definitely try to find the second one at some point, because having the first and the third book, that's going to bother my OCD extremely. The next book that I picked up was Lion Boy by... Can we just please not judge me for not knowing how to say that name? This was a book that it was my first audiobook that I listened to, and it was on disc, and there was like 16 discs or something, and we used to listen to them on long car rides everywhere, like me and my family, and it was the first book that we kind of all read together and really enjoyed. And it's a really interesting story and a really interesting concept, and it's a trilogy. This is the first in the trilogy. I can't remember what the other ones are called, and I just know that I would prefer to read it rather than to listen to it, because I do struggle with that kind of trying to listen to it and not seeing it visually, because I'm a bit more of a visual person than verbal person, as probably a lot of people know. But I want to collect the trilogy and actually read it, because I do remember bits and pieces of the story, but that was when I was real young, and I don't remember every bit that happened in it, and I would really like to. I'm really struggling to speak. The next book that I picked up is The Book of Lies, and this is a book that I've known about for a while now, because it's a very old book, I believe. Could be wrong about that, and I might be getting it wrong with another book, but I was really encaptured by the back of this novel, and it's also like a period fiction, like set in a different era than our own. I don't always find it really interesting to read about the past rather than, something really far in the future, because I'm always quite disappointed in those kind of novels when they're set really far into the future, because, we get to that year and it's nothing like that, what was written. Not that, you know what I mean. But that, I like to read about the past because we already know so much about the past. Well, not heaps, but like we do know a moderate amount about the past, apart from not you know, we didn't live through it, so I feel like we don't know everything, but we know most stuff. So I really like reading books about the past and rather than the future. Reasons why I picked this book up. The next book that is part of this haul is called Looking for Alaska by John Green. And I got this book for a reason, because I already own Looking for Alaska, but there was this thing that I made for an old friend of mine where it was called Destroy This Book, which is, it disheartens me to say it, but I made a bunch of rules and taped it to the inside page for her to read the rules and peruse at her leisure, and she could remove rules if she didn't particularly like them, but she had to read the book. And for example, one of the rules was highlight things that you like, and so she went through the book and highlighted things that she liked, and she did most of the rules from my memory, and then you had to pass the book around to at least 4 different people. So that is what I'm going to do with this book, because it is one of my favorite books, and I already have a copy of it, but I didn't want to destroy that copy because I really like that copy. This copy's alright. Cover's not my favorite thing in the world, but you know what? Doing it for fun. You know, if I can even get the words out. The next book that I got was Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister by Gregory Maguire. And I got this book because it is the same guy who wrote Wicked, and I read Wicked a while ago. I didn't get all the way through it because I started to be like, this is nothing like the musical. And I knew it wasn't going to be anything like the musical, but I did really like what the book, and I will get back to it eventually. But I saw this, I'm like, must have. And also, like, just look at the front, and then just, that is the inside. And I could not stop laughing because I thought it was very funny, and I'm immature, but it's okay. The next book that is part of this haul, and I just kind of showed you it, is Gregor the Overlander. Wow, I thought it was And the Overlanders, but I'm dumb apparently. By Suzanne Collins, and I read The Hunger Games, and I love The Hunger Games, and I knew that this was a series, but I haven't actually seen it around in my local bookstores. I don't really see much these days, but I thought, why not give it a try, because I love The Hunger Games, so maybe I'll like this. The next 2 books that I got I'm going to show together because they are by the same person, so Beastly and A Kiss in Time, and I've been wanting to read these books for a while now because my friend was raving about them in like year 9, and I was like, ooh, this sounds so good. And it was mainly about Beastly. She didn't say too much about A Kiss in Time, but she had read A Kiss in Time. But yeah, she was my main friend that was like obsessed with books, and she always recommended ones to me. And like, I just didn't ever get time to read them. And I didn't ever like see them in bookstores. So when I saw these there, I'm like, I have to get them. What really annoys me is that they are not the same size, and they're going to sit like that on my bookshelf. And I'm not 100% happy with that, but I will read them anyway. The next book that I got is A Line of Beauty, and I mainly got this because I looked at the cover and I was like, damn son, that looks fine. But this is another period time thing, and it is about a man who loves another man. Scandalous. It doesn't actually say that, but I assume that because it was in the LGBT plus community little section they had, and I always have a little sneak peek there, and I always feel a little bit judged, but you know what, I'm just gonna look in that section anyway because the law is passed here and people should just be okay with it anyway. It's bound to happen sooner or later. The next book that I got was The Last Girl by Michael Adams, and I've been wanting this book for a bit because the sequel came out and I kept on picking up the sequel, and I'm like, no, I can't read this one because I need to read the first book first and not will do what I usually do and read the second book first and the first book second, because I cannot tell you how many times that has happened. The next book that I got is called A Perfect World by Brian James, and this is about a girl called Lacey. I forgot her name, I had to look at the back, don't judge me. And she doesn't exactly fit into everybody's life, and you know, when her friend wants to like, you know, like this is what the blurb says. Like, when her friend wants to, like, sort of move fast through life, Lacey doesn't really want to move fast through life. And everything that everybody else wants to do, she doesn't exactly want to do because she doesn't want to fit into that perfect world. And, like, I really relate to the main character, and I've only read the back. And I really think that this is going to be a very interesting novel. I have not read it or heard about it, and it just sounded really nice, and like I kind of relate to it on a bit of a personal level because of what my life is right now. But you know, I don't know, it may change, but I'm going to read this book and probably enjoy it thoroughly because I am the main character. Why am I Lacey? I don't know. The next book that I got was Stardust by Neil Gaiman, and I've been wanting this book forever, but like every time I go to the bookstore, like it is a bit on the expensive side because it just is, and like the cover, this isn't the cover that is the one in the bookstore, and I'm like, is it worth it, that much money for a cover that I don't particularly like, because I'm a bit picky when it comes to books and stuff, so I like to have a decent cover at least, and I'm not wasn't 100% happy with that cover, so I was always a bit like, eh. And then I saw it sitting on the shelf there at this secondhand place, and I was just like, woohoo, and it was $1. Guys, this is absolute steal for Gaiman's work, just saying. But I loved the movie, and I've just been wanting to read it for like so long, and I didn't think that someone would want to give this book up. So I'm slightly confused about that. And last but not the least is The Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. This one was suggested to me by a friend because she has read this book and kind of loved it. I think that's what she said. I can't remember, so I'm sorry if she's watching this and I am dead wrong. But she recommended it to me, and the movie is coming out soon, so it'd be really nice to read this before the movie comes out to have a nice side-by-side, because that is what I'm doing with several books right now because they're coming out this year and I'd like to read them before I see the movie. So hopefully that happens. Anyway guys, that is it for my book haul, my secondhand book haul. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are, or night, or whatever time you're watching this. Anyway guys, I'll see you next time. Goodbye. I forgot to say please like, subscribe, because that is always nice, but goodbye, and do those things maybe if you want to.